Another day, another conversation. As we've pivoted, and I don't like using that word. It's been overused. As we've adjusted the conversations and start moving into how are we going to get out of this mess and get back to business and get back to the excitement that we've worked so hard to create. The conversations have now shifted into franchisors and franchisees, where people that are watching this can see interactions in real time. And what I love about this, we're joined by the team from Celebree. We'll let them do an introduction in a second, but I love the fact, like, this is no restraints, franchisees, franchisors talking together. There's no scripted testimonials. Like, this is real stuff. And I appreciate these conversations because we get to see it in real time. So guys, thank you so much for giving us some time on this day.
You're welcome.
So yeah, Richard, why don't we start with you? Why don't you position things first? What's going on in your world, your life, your franchise business, a little bit about Celebree, and then we'll go around and do a round.
Yeah, sure. So Celebree currently has 40 schools in five states. We're headquartered here in Maryland. 40 schools that are currently open or under development. I think what this whole pandemic or this crisis that we're going through right now has really proved our business model to be essential to not only these families and the essential workers that have to work in these environments, but also the model itself is kind of I wouldn't say it's recession proof. Because we are only providing care for essential families and children, but we are still open and operated. Quite early when this first started, we decided that we were not going to close unless we were forced to close by our governor or the governors in these states that we're operating in. So I think that's been a blessing to us. I know a lot of our competitors have decided to close for whatever reason, but Celebree quite early decided, and that wasn't the path that we were going to choose.
Appreciate that. There's certainly a lot that we want to get into there, and how you're taking a different route. Jim, same question to you. Just generally, what's going on in your world, personal, franchise, and et cetera.
Yeah, great. Thanks, Nick, and really thanks for having us on today. Yeah, I think from a business perspective, we're leveraging technology more than we ever have, which I think is going to carry forward after states start reopening. We're learning a lot and how to conduct using technology better. So that's going to be a win not only for us internally, but for our franchisees as well. From a personal perspective, I'm spending a lot more quality time with my wife and my kid, Nick, and the dogs. I don't know if I've ever sat on a video call before with a button-up sport coat and pajama pants on, but I'm kind of enjoying it.
Jim, do you have the pajama pants on now, or?
I do.
And Britt, how about you? Frame what's going on in your world too.
Well, I'm a new franchisee, so I'm still looking for property, and we've been working through that this entire time, which it was scary at first, right? What's going to happen in the future? I don't even have property yet. What's going to go on? Am I going to be able to open this franchise? But very early on, as Richie talked about, that they're going to stay open. We've been pretty bullish that we're going to execute, get this lease done. I've had some great conversations with the team, with Jim and Chris, that we're just moving full steam ahead. The contractors and landlords, they're ready to move ahead as well. So it's been pretty bullish the entire time. So it's still an exciting time. And hopefully today, we're crossing our fingers that we'll have a signed letter of intent by the end of the day. So that's something to look forward to while we're sort of held up here.
Richard, Jim, Nick and I, as we've had these conversations, One of the values has been really to get to the heart of a brand, to get to the heart of the franchisor-franchisee relationship. What's becoming really clear, I think Jim mentioned it, right? Everyone's life has changed. And I share the same sentiment, Jim. Like the personal moments at home with the family have been amazing. But on a business end, I think on the other side, there's going to be less tolerance for brands and franchise systems that don't live up to their purpose and values. And we think, or I think it represents a big opportunity for emerging brands like yours. I know I'm in the general sense, but as going through this and now seeing what's going to be on the other side as your system grows, is this adjusted priorities for your team? And also, I think invigorated many brands in terms of, I now think the emerging brands have an advantage over the really big brands coming out of this. I mean, how do you guys feel about that?
I mean, I can speak that I just have a lot of confidence in the Celebree team, and I have had since the beginning that communication has been fantastic between us. And as I said before, that bullish attitude that we're going to get through this and we're going to continue to be successful. I haven't had one doubt in my mind since the beginning of this that this is going to continue to grow and continue to be a great partnership.
Mm-hmm. I would also add that the first thing that comes to my mind is, it's funny you mentioned that, because that is one of our strategic initiatives, is to make sure that we deliver the Celebree promise to our franchisees. And I think that's what really keeps us focused on continuing on the promise that we made. And in Britt's example is to, have his LOI executed, get him into a lease, and get his Celebree school open. So, with that being one of our initiatives in our strategy, I think it really keeps us focused on our commitments to our franchisees, and that being one of them.
Yeah, I think, Charles, that another important point is, and one that Richie and I and the full team at Celebree has always been aligned on, is flexibility. And this is going to filter out the brands that have flexible employees versus the brands that feel a franchisor is a 9-to-5 job. And what I mean by that is, it was very common for us to have a scheduled 1 o'clock call for an hour to talk about an FDD or a site review. With moms and dads and kids being home all at the same time now, I have a call scheduled at 8 o'clock Monday evening to do a webinar. And those who aren't willing to be flexible to continue to deliver that promise, the prospective franchisees and the current franchisees, they're going to absolutely feel that.
Yeah, I mean, there's great insights coming out of this, Britt. I want to ask you something, because we've studied and had conversations with people of franchisees at various stages in the process, whether they already have the brick and mortar going, whether they've been in operation for multiple years and they have multiple units, or at your stage, like you're still in like the onboarding stage to get your business up and running. And I've heard it twice in your opening statement, and then the reflective statement there of thank you for the support that you guys are giving me. For a franchise owner, I mean, I would love for you to even go back to like March 15th and what's going on through your head. Are you bullish right away? How quickly do you feel the support of the franchisor? Because frankly, you would be perfectly justified to say, I am overwhelmed, stressed, I'm out, I need to push pause on this because of what's happening globally, not just locally, but globally. You had been fully justified, and yet you used the term bullish. So I would love, like, how do you get to that mentality? Is that just who you are as a person, or is it because of how Celebree stepped up and helped you make and feel comfortable?
Well, I think it's both those things. I made a commitment to do this back in December. I committed to join the Celebree team, and so I didn't have any plans of backing out at this point. That was one of it, but I just love this team and how supportive they are. And I don't talk to them every day, but I jump on Facebook. I'm on their Facebook pages, and I see the support, the leadership from Richie on down, that even through this pandemic, this team just loves being together every single day, and they support one another. And I am still as happy today as I was when I first signed of what I'm getting myself into. And yes, there's challenges in front of us, and I don't know what it looks like, 3 days out to a year out right now, but I'm confident in this team that together we'll get through this and we'll be successful.
Britt, that's it's interesting too, because you can't plan for these things. You can only stick to the plan, stay the course, and I'm hopeful that you're going to be rewarded with a ton of back end demand of parents who need to get their kids up to par on education and interaction. So I think that's tremendous, and I think you answered the question. But so our law firm represents emerging brands, and when my clients watch these videos, the question they love to hear the most is the one where I ask, like, at the time, so you signed your contract in December, right? Mm-hmm. At that point, you're about to make a life-altering decision, right? And there's a lot of intangibles going on, second thoughts, maybe other systems. At its core, what led you to Celebree? Certainly now I know you feel validated by it, but what were those core factors that sort of that intangible where you felt you were doing the right thing?
There's several things. I've talked about this a lot. Anyone I talk to about jumping into franchise, one thing I wanted was a family-like atmosphere, and Celebree is going to get bigger and bigger as we go. But right now, it's an upstart on the franchising, and it's a small family business, and Richie's involved every single day. So I wanted that family atmosphere, and that's what I'm getting. And I've said this every time that I talk about Celebree. The first time I met the team at Celebree, I wanted to be a part of it. They're just genuine people. You just don't find people like this in business every single day. These are people you want to be around, you want to work with, you want to smile with, you call them your friends at the end of the day. It was an immediate connection as soon as I talked to them.
Yeah, I mean, it's a fascinating thing, and I would imagine Celebree, from a leadership standpoint, you guys are making sure that you're making the prospects feel comfortable in the process, because it's interesting. Like if we were to study every franchise buyer in the history of buyers, it ends up being like the same buckets. One, I have to believe in the product to even get to that table and say that I'm interested in this business model. So you got to have that check mark. And then the second is the vision and the leadership strong enough that the investment that I'm going to make I'm going to feel confident that they're protecting it. So number two ends up becoming so valuable. And then, am I confident the leadership is going to drive cost to get in and how much I can make? Is the territory that I want available, and can I have it? And then lastly, when I go to existing franchisees and say, would you do this again? They go, yeah, I absolutely would. And when you start looking at those buckets, they're all the same. So maybe Richie, if you want to take the lead on answering this first, and then Jim, how are you guys positioning that as a part of the sales funnel? And is that still coming out in storytelling today, in a new world where millions of human beings are facing uncertainty in their job or unemployment, that are going to be looking for really category 2 of strength of the people that I'm going to be associated with? How are you guys elevating that from a story standpoint?
I would say initially that even before all of this, our industry, I believe, was ranked number 2 as the one of the fastest growing industry, and right behind that being number 3 and the most profitable. So I think just that alone sparks a lot of interest in what we do, creates a lot of curiosity around that. But even now with I think Jim mentioned it, even now, with what we're expecting of some of these other preschools going out of business, there's a lot of data saying there's going to be a ton of pent up demand. Almost 4.5 million children last time I saw that are going to be without a spot, as we would call it, or in some sort of preschool. So the pent up demand, I think people are already sensing that already, which kind of brings a little bit more interest to our industry, let alone what the data was telling them prior with the the how fast we're growing and the profitability of owning a school. I would also say that, you know, and I think this is related to Britt a lot, is that you got to remember Celebree owns and operates 26 schools. So we are in the preschool business. So we can really speak into what Britt's going to go through. We still open corporate locations. That's one of our models. Our motto is the hub and spoke model in these communities to make sure there's local support. So we're not only in the franchise business, but we're also still heavily into the preschool business and operating our own schools. And I think there's a lot of value in that.
I think, Nick, from my perspective, during the sales process and the funnel, if you will, our message has stayed very consistent. As prospective franchisees explore competition, we're all offering very similar type models. The difference is, are they buying into the people who are promising to execute on that model or not? We have really smart, intelligent, prospective franchisees that I believe can see through what is a salesy mentality to get them to a franchise agreement, and then they're just one of another 100 people out looking to get a school open, or the people who have absolutely made a commitment and wake up every day saying they are front of mind and I need to do what's in the best interest of the franchisee. And I think that's where we win.
You know, it's interesting because first, I think it is very significant that you have your company-owned outlets. And we hear this time and again, right, that not only am I a franchisee, but I know the franchisor is operating their own outlets, and there's that drip down in innovation or whatnot. I think we had from Bella Ballerina, right? If you're going to test something out, you're going to do it through your company-owned outlets and not through your franchisees, which I think is a big factor.
Yep.
What's also really interesting is in your space, you sort of have, I'll call them non-branded or sole proprietor schools. And what I think, there's a couple of lessons I think we're all learning as we get through COVID about franchising. One, when we're talking about PPP funding, the whole world is sort of learning that individual franchisees are not big business. They're entrepreneurs, and they're small businesses that line every community. And two, that there's a big value proposition for a franchise relationship with good franchisors, support economies of scale, and that whole system where we're seeing franchisees in good systems, as Nick will say, they have scaffolding built around them. The brand is protecting them. They're working together. And so I think that's, you know, for an emerging brand like yours, it'd be different if you didn't have your own company-owned outlets, your own schools, but having those and the size you're at and going into a new, I'd call it a new market post-COVID, I think that's a compelling value proposition. I'm curious, Britt, how big of a factor was that for you when you bought?
It was a factor when I bought. Yeah, knowing that they have their own outlets that are very successful, hugely successful, especially here in the Maryland area where I am. That was a thought, but I tell you, that was even more valuable when the COVID hit, to see that them continuing their success there and their commitment to their team. You know, as I was talking about earlier, watching the Facebook, how they celebrate what they're doing, where you see on the news where these businesses are getting frustrated and essential workers are frustrated, and I see just positives coming from this. So I think that helped even more during the current situation that we're in, to give me the confidence of the leadership, the team, making that I made the right decision.
When we look at what's going on from a news and a political standpoint right now, politics as a general theme, and the news specific to whether we open or we don't, you can see that part of the conflict is that there is different opinions at every corner that you turn. And you guys made the decision right off the bat, as long as we're an essential business, we're going to continue to operating and we're going to protect our employees, we're going to protect our parents, we're going to protect our clients. How do you get to that conclusion? What was like that battle room discussion like to come to the decision of yes? And what advice would you have for others that are trying to navigate, like, when do we open and how do we open? Richie, if you want to take the lead on that, that'd be great.
I would answer that two ways. I'm a firm believer, that momentum is very hard to regain once it's come to a complete stop. So I never wanted to stop momentum and shut the entire company down and then try to regain momentum. So and also with us being an essential business, we had an obligation to our community. And there's been a lot of our competitors, families that were, I would say, forced because their schools closed down to come over and use the Celebree School services. And a lot of these families are already saying, when this is all over, I'm not leaving. So it's been a win-win on that side. I would also add, each state, is reacting differently. The governor here in Maryland has decided that the state was going to go ahead and pay for those essential workers, and we would be left with the vacancies of the schools. Our Delaware schools have actually taken which I think is the right approach. They actually have decided not to pay for their essential employees, but they're going to pay the schools for their vacancies, which I think is the right approach, because everybody's fear is that when this is all said and done, there won't be enough schools open to care for this amount of children. So everybody's a little bit different, but regardless of both sides, Nick, we decided that we were going to go ahead and serve these communities that we're in.
So Britt, you're expecting today the LOI on your lease? Anything change in negotiations between pre-COVID and post-COVID in the negotiations, or no?
There's still concerns out there. Yeah, absolutely. I'm sure there'll be a COVID addendum in the middle of this letter of intent. But talking, everyone's hoping this is short-lived. That's why there's an addendum in case it isn't. Sorry. Sorry about that. But yeah, that's the only concern. How long does this last? I'm going to be doing a ground up business and in an industrial construction park, and if it goes on extended, do they just pull out altogether and say they're not building the entire park? That still could happen. There's still concerns even after I get the letter of intent that could happen, depending how long this continues. But I still feel that we should be out of this, and they'll continue to build. It's a good company that I'm working with. So hopefully it all goes well today, and it'll be a big relief off my shoulders while we're locked up in the house, that if I can get this signed, it's something to look forward to, and we're well on our way to getting a school open.
One thing that you guys just touched on is in both cases, Britt, with you. Oh, go ahead.
I would also add to this. We're with Britt. We're very bullish on the next couple months during this time, because we also believe that a lot of people are sitting home wondering and contemplating whether they even want to return back to their current positions. So. And I think this was in Britt's case also, the majority of our franchises that are coming in, they don't want to just come back to a business or buy a business. They want to buy a business that they can have a legacy behind, and they can make a big impact on their communities because of owning their own school. So I think why people are sitting home and contemplating and have a lot of thinking time. I think this type of business in this industry is going to become very appealing to a lot of people.
Well, one thing that came out of all of the discussion, obviously, is the idea of momentum. And Richie, I agree with you that with so many brands made the decision, and they're not wrong to do this because we've never navigated a storm like this before. But they pumped the brakes and they said everything stops. In franchise development, sales is like a locomotive. Like if you pump that to a brake, then you got to understand that you're talking about a 6 to 9 month run to even get it back to speed at an aggressive spend. So that's going to be a tough thing. Now we're talking about 2021 there, and you just stretched it out. Some brands said, let's take it down to a third on spend, and let's just keep it going so that we can start capturing things. Because my belief too is that it was somewhat empty of buyers in a good economy, because majority of franchise buyers are comfortable in jobs. They are somewhat risk adverse. That's why you buy a franchise, proven operation model, proven sales models. You're risk adverse. So majority of franchise buyers were like, let's wait and see what happens with the economy. They were looking for that shake-up moment. Now it's happened. Now they look at their jobs. Now they evaluate their happiness in life. And now that pond is jam full of fish that are ready to become franchisees. And all the brands that stop running forward, now they're stuck out of gas at the gas station. There's a long line, and the fishermen are already starting to get in there. So as you continue to navigate this, I would love just some bullet points. Like what are the big opportunities? And the last thing I'll say is like in our business, we've had to navigate it the similar way. Like momentum's going to stay on people, technology, and growth. That's not changing for our business. At the same time, we are going to manage cash flow responsibly. We're going to ensure that we have the greatest talent pool possible, because that just got wide open for our business. We're going to double down on technology because we see the gaps that were created by everyone else, which should then lead to growth. So for us, that's how we're navigating it. It's a very gray area navigation, but just some bullet points on how are you guys keeping that momentum going? How excited are you for what happens next in the history of your company?
Jim, you want to go?
Yeah, sure, Nick. I'll jump in on that first. One, excited is an understatement on I think where we're at right now. We're going to have an opportunity to capitalize on real estate. This is going to be for us a tenant market. Our model is unique in the sense that we go after existing buildings that can be retrofitted into a school first. And then second, we would look at ground up opportunities. So we know that there's companies out there who are pulling out of their locations. They're no longer continuing with development. And that's really been a lot of the messaging from me to prospective franchisees, is that we have to look at the opportunity that's going to be coming out of this. We can grow together and let's get out there and take advantage of what's in front of us right now. You know, Richie talked about it earlier. We're not recession proof, but childcare is recession resistant at some level. And it's just been the conversations I've been having with those folks, Nick, who are especially saying, man, do I want to go back to my job? I really don't have any upward mobility left. Why make a lateral move? Now's the time to jump into a franchise concept, because they are risk adverse. And we're also creating some really good programs to make sure we're keeping an eye on their cash as much as they are, allowing some deferral of initial franchise license deposits. So we're really working hard and super excited about the opportunity we have to grow.
Yeah, for me, and I know we're like turning the corner, and as we wrap this up, I'm going to be very simple. I mean, I think we've all learned life is short, and so what's impacted me the most in this conversation are Britt's comments about the brand and about the company, right? Which all come down to, sure, you want to be in the right industry. You guys check that off, but basically these are people I want to be in business with, right? Which I think is so much behind that. Sounds like a simple statement, and there's a lot of culture and integrity and honesty that goes behind it. And the other good thing about COVID and all this nonsense is you can't fake this stuff, and you especially can't do it in a crisis. And the little things too, like, I don't know, Britt said, watching the celebrations on Facebook, don't know what they are, but know those wins and celebrations are key. So I think that's part of the roadmap on that corner, as we make that turn. And, for me, I think, Celebree, not only with your company-owned outlets, but you keep having those celebrations and that focus. I think that's where the wins are ahead. And I think all the brands that are faking it right now, they're not going to exist next year. So, guys, again, Britt, Richard, Jim, on my end, I personally appreciate the insights on all of this. I know Nick will probably ask just for you guys to wrap up, but for me, just hearing someone say these are people I want to be in business with, and I know for my team, that's what I want to hear from them. And I know it's like a family, because really after this, what really matters? It's way too short. And Richard, like you were saying, or we were talking about, I right now want to be on bleachers watching a ball game or something. But no, I appreciate all these thoughts.
Yeah, I think that from my perspective as a leader, again, we had a plan, right? We have a plan, and we have a strategy, and we have a vision, and our goal is to make sure that this vision becomes a reality. So we're going to continue. Yesterday, we had our first meeting with the executive team, first time in a long time, a couple of weeks of going back over the strategy and saying what can we implement regardless of what's going on right now. Of course, without putting anyone at risk or at danger. But again, Nick, I think it goes back to momentum and continue to advance. And again, as I said, one of our top priorities in our strategy is delivering, and this is word from word, delivering our promise to our franchisees. And with that kind of statement always reviewed and in your face, it's easy to do our part and making sure that we're still holding these real estate brokers accountable for bringing us the best locations, and making sure that we're still on top of the landlords to make sure that Britt's LOI gets signed and make sure that his school still gets open in this environment. And every day is different, and some of those action steps in the strategy we'll be able to execute, and some we won't. But at this point, we've been very blessed and fortunate to be in a business that we are able to continue to execute on the promises that we've made to our franchisees.
Appreciate that. And Jim, final thoughts from you too?
Yeah, final thoughts are thank you to both you and Charles for allowing us this opportunity. This has been great. And really, it's just whenever I hear Britt talk or a different franchisee share the same feelings that they have, for me, it just reinforces flexibility, creativity, passion, and an absolute determination and promise that we make to deliver. And that just motivates me every day.
Great.
Love it. And Britt, final thoughts?
My final thoughts, thanks for having me on. I appreciate it. But, through this, I think my fondness and my confidence is even stronger than it was before. So, it's a terrible situation, but I was confident before, but I'm confident in this team that we move forward together, and we are going to be successful because I see how successful they are right now as a leadership team.
Love that. Yeah, and I'll close it by saying, take away watching. One is, we've been saying this forever, that brands don't sell brands, people do. And forever brands have been saying, look at my building, look how much money you can make. And the reality is, if you can get out of your own ego and just listen to what franchise owners are saying, they buy from people. And if you can show confidence in that message, and you can show that even in your websites, like too many franchise sales websites are just pictures of buildings. And that is not what franchise owners are buying. That's why due diligence even exists. That's why discovery days exist. Like think about reshaping the way that you're delivering your brand message on a franchise sales standpoint, because the people stories go front and center. And now, just because I feel like it's a good way to close, Jim, I haven't worn pants in 2 months, so I'm wearing shorts under there too.
I knew I wasn't the only one. I was just first to admit it.
Guys, guys. Appreciate the conversation. I wish you all the best of luck. Britt, good luck on what happens next with you. You got a great journey ahead of you. Have a great weekend. Thanks, everyone, for the conversation.
Thanks, guys.
Take care, gentlemen.
Thank you.